So to anyone tuning in, thank you, first of all. And second of all, this may sound like a yap session. I don't have much direction in where I'm going, but I have some thoughts, and I think they're important thoughts that some people need to hear. And yeah. So I think for the past year, since I've gotten to university, I'm currently staying in Canada, going to University of Toronto. Lived in South Africa before this, I've been thinking like, what the fuck, like, is this life shit, Like, why do we do the things that we do, all this stuff? And then I came down to the point that society, human beings, all of this stuff is kind of driven innately by our capacity to do good and evil. And what things are in place to allow us to do both good and evil. And if we boil it down to one aspect today, I think our capacity to do good and evil is truly measured by one thing and one thing only. And I think we know what that thing is. And it's money, How much money do you have in the bank? What's your credit score? How much debt are you in? All these things that govern how much money you're worth. Because at the end of the day, money now is power, political power, social power, and financial power at the same time. If I have $1 billion, I can go to the Central Bank of Canada and say, well, guys, let's do some policies to make me more richer. I can go to a homeless person and say, listen, my guy, I'm gonna buy you a house. Buy the homeless guy a house. Or I can say, Myanmar, let's go invade Myanmar, guys. But not with any government, but with private military, so I can take the fucking resources and make myself more rich. And I'll be able to do those things because money is just like the best thing ever nowadays. And it really determines all the things that we do. And when looking at money, I think it's important to kind of look towards the last 100 years and like the trajectory that money and society has kind of developed around. Obviously, you guys may know, but World War II, World War I were kind of like the two big epicenters of this change of money, and the US coming to power, or the US becoming the world superpower after World War II has kind of initiated all of this. The US comes to prominence. They kind of let Great Britain just like step aside because, they were struggling after World War I and World War II. And then Truman comes to prominence and he puts in the Truman Doctrine, the New Deal, and then Eisenhower establishes NATO. These forces that they're going to use to change the world and implement great things. Truman had a speech right at the end of the 40s or like after World War II that basically said, listen guys, the world's fucked and America has the resources to develop it. And I want you guys to remember that word, development. And they go about this mission, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UN, IMF, World Bank, all these institutions that are gonna govern and help us reach the new world. And there's the struggle for communism and capitalism. And, then the USSR collapses and everyone's like, oh, liberal democracy, capitalism, the world's all the same now. And we're just gonna keep on going and history is gonna be this amazing thing. In the background of all of this, you had former colonies claiming independence. You had China rising to industrial prominence. You had the founding of the World Economic Forum, which started talking about globalization and GDP and the way that we frame economies now. And all these things kind of build up towards the latter half of the 20th century when George Bush invades Iraq. Saddam Hussein, he has these weapons of mass destruction and all this shit. And then they go and they take the oil and they're there. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know if that's allowed, but hey, sorry, like, go to town, like, whatever the fuck. You know, people had disagreements, but you know they did it. 9/11 happens, they're like, what? What the fuck? What the hell is this shit? How did this happen? Boom. They go again into the Middle East. Oil, all these things. And, you know, this kind of carries on and they do what they do. And since the 2000s, America hasn't really like moved forward. And because America hasn't really moved forward as the superpower, like the world's kind of not moved forward. I mean, yeah, like we have more money in the economy, you know, 2.5 new millionaires in 2021. We have all this stuff around us. Everything's been developed. We have rising numbers of GDP. But then you sit there and you think like, all this stuff is going on, but you know, I'm fucking $100,000 in debt. And I'm saying this being $1,000 in credit card debt. Like, I've been here 1 year, dude, and fuck, like, I'm not a frivolous spender, but $1,000 in credit card debt I am, you know? And they kind of tell you like, okay, there are winners and losers, but you can win. Go to college, get a job, do this stuff. And then you go to college and you're like, okay, I want to work for Goldman Sachs. I want to be a financier. Then you go and you're like, yes, I'm going to make some money. Then you leave and you're like, ooh, shit, I'm $100,000 in debt. What the fuck? This is deep. And they're like, well, tough shit. Sorry for you that you wanted to make money and join society. Sorry. And then that just accumulates and accumulates throughout your life. You can't pay it off. That's one aspect of it. And then you have like culture and the things that like we like, you know. Gaming, not really the same. Movies, not really the same. Fucking fashion, not really the same. And you start to look at every facet of modern society that kind of developed in the 60s as part of like this shift to like consumer culture, and everything's just gone to the dogs, bro. Like, movies are shit. Netflix is doing ads now. Amazon's doing ads. Fucking Jordans are like $200. Inflation, whatever, these numbers are rising. This is obviously expected. But I think the point that I'm trying to get at is that for the past 100 years, America's kind of said to the world and to itself and its citizens that whatever we're doing is the way to do it. And if you have any other opinions, you're fucking wrong. Sorry if macroeconomics doesn't work for you. Sorry if microeconomics doesn't work for you. Sorry if you don't like the fact that Elon Musk has 200 billion and you don't. And I'm not saying like, let's go kill the rich and all that shit, because that would just be another version of the French Revolution. But what I'm trying to get at is that culture now and consumer society today has kind of forced us to always point the finger at something else, you know? Oh, you're unhappy? It's woman. Oh, you're not this? It's conservatives. Oh, you're fucking ugly? Yeah, that's the black pill, and sorry for you, that's just the way life is. And it's like we're always pointing the finger at something else. Society's so fucked, all this shit. And it's true, like it is, but at the same time, we're the only ones that can kind of do anything about it. And it just kind of like, it kind of pisses me off that when you talk about this kind of stuff nowadays, everyone's like, oh, leave out the politics, leave out this, leave out that, you know. I just want to make my money and do my thing. And that's what it is, man. Like, how many people can you ask today, like, what do you want to do? And how many people will say, I want to make money? How the fuck is that a goal, dude? Like, you want to make money? Dude, everyone wants to make fucking money. Like, how can that determine, like, your fucking journey in life? Making money. And, like, I love money as much as the next person. I want to be rich. You want to be... Everyone wants to be rich. But I think we sit at a very crucial point now where we can see that maybe, like, money isn't the best thing ever. And that maybe we need to start looking past it to kind of move forward. And I want you to actually think, like, could we exist in a society without money? Like, I actually want you to think about it. And I want you to think about why it might be a no. Because I think if consumer society has shown us anything over the past 80 years, it's that not everyone is going to like the Mercedes. Not everyone is going to like Halo. Like, everyone likes what they like. And we have enough nowadays, or we can create enough so that everyone can have, you know? I mean, why the fuck does poverty still exist? But Netflix is valued at $500 billion. Oh, sorry for them. Tough shit, you know? You need to fucking be working, hustling, working 80 hours a week. Tough. Sorry for you if you're not making money. And it's like, I get that there's winners and losers in life, but in an actual sense, why does there have to be winners and losers? You know, I was watching an interview with Jamie Dimon yesterday, and he's like, oh, you know, the bottom 20% of Americans economically are not doing too well. And yes, they're not doing too well. But what Jamie Dimon won't say is that the bottom 20% of Americans occupy 90% of the population. He won't say that, because then it's going to start getting people to think like, oh, fuck, like, there's so many of us, dude. Why are we living through this shit? And I'm not saying let's go storm the Capitol tomorrow, let's go overthrow your government. But what I am saying is we have to start thinking about this stuff. And this leads me on to my next point. I don't know when it was exactly, but I watched Succession. I don't know if you guys know Succession. And towards the end of that, you know, there was like the sentiment like in the show that, you know, the way of the old is dying, and that, you know, it's the new. You know, Logan Roy is fading out, Lucas Madsen is the new. And then at the time I was thinking, like, from like a business point of view, because a year ago, I'm not even joking, I wanted to start a Fortune 500 company and change the media landscape. Obviously that's shifted now, but I was like, oh, things are changing and this is good, you know? And then I watched, what the fuck's that guy's name? Archad's video about the Lamborghini Urus is a sign of the apocalypse. And basically the whole point boils down to elite overproduction, which is this concept proposed by Peter Turchin, who says that at a certain point in civilizations, in history and in right now, society allows individuals to kind of amass huge amounts of wealth. And when too many people start doing that, the society can't like absorb them, you know? And it brings me back to that 2.5 new millionaires in 2021. Like, that may sound like a good thing, but 2.5 new millionaires in 1 year is fucking insane, bro. It's insane. I mean, what? You're drop shipping, you're selling fucking things on Alibaba, you're a social media influencer, but I'm sitting here in $1,000 debt. Like, it doesn't make sense, you know? And elite overproduction in past societies, French Revolution, Taiping Dynasty, Roman Empire, is a sign of collapse. And I think if we all think about it in our own way, we can kind of see things start to decay, you know? And it's definitely been a gradual thing, but it's starting to ramp up right now. And I'm gonna go back to that Jamie Dimon interview again, and he says what we're experiencing right now is the remilitarization of the world, which in any circumstance, whichever way you spin it, is not a good thing. And right now on the doomsday clock, we sit at 90 seconds to midnight. That's the closest we've been to doomsday in the history of in the history of humanity, dude. At the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was at 2 minutes. We're at 90 seconds right now. But no, I'm gonna go fuck bitches at the club. Obviously, bro, go fuck bitches at the club, like everyone loves to do that. But maybe start thinking about like why you can't afford like 2 pairs of shoes and why you can only afford like 1. Maybe start to think about like what's gonna happen with all this stuff, I mean, the US, as of this year, I may be mistaken, but 80% of the money in circulation right now was printed like this over this and last year. And we've seen this before, you print more money, you force the central banks to raise interest. Because you're raising interest, consumers are gonna be scared of the future and they're gonna spend more now. What that does, recession. And what I'm trying to say is insanity. Insanity, doing the same shit over and over and expecting different results. I mean, guys, we've been doing the same fucking thing for like 100 years. And we just like, okay. And it pisses me off because I can see that there's so much more to us, bro. Like, when I look at my generation, Gen Z, despite all our problems and all that, like, we have the capability to do so much good. I mean, everything that I'm speaking about right now wasn't learned in fucking my university classroom or in my high school. It was learned on fucking YouTube and interacting and engaging with people online and watching different stuff. And like, yeah, I'm a banana. I'm 20 years old. I don't know anything. I'm watching YouTube videos. That's what, society would want you to believe. You're sitting there in your room and you know all these things about the world. And then you try to talk about them to your parents and you're like, what do you know? Like, shut up. And then you try to talk to your friends and they're like, come on, man. That's like nihilistic. Like, that's like conspiratorial. And it's like, yes, it is, until it isn't, bro. Like, the signs are there. Like, I'm not making this video to kind of get you guys to be scared or to fill your head with negativity. I'm speaking about these things because I believe that we can change them. And we have the capability to change them. I mean, if I could think of like one solution to the current like economic fucking perils of the world, it would probably be like a single world currency. And if someone were to say that, best believe US government, all these powers are going to say, no, that can't exist because, yeah. And it's like, why can't a single world currency exist? In the sense that like different currencies nowadays have different valuations. And your success is ultimately determined by how well your country's GDP is doing, how much money it's valued at, and what's it in relation to the US dollar, or to the pound, or to the euro, or to the Canadian dollar. And it's like, we don't have to be split, Like, there will always be like differences in society and people will believe different things. But I think right now, in the way that we think of us, money is truly the one thing that is leading this cascading effect of some negative shit. And it's like, it can be seen in anything, like, let's talk about crime, Why do people commit crime? Okay, some people might be bad, but for the majority of people, it's the economic circumstances force them to go and fucking sell drugs or shoot some people so that they can make money, like make more money than like the fucking working the corner shop does, And yeah, like, I'm not going to justify crime, But if you actually think about it, that's what it boils down to. And then, like if we talk about relationships and just like the way people act nowadays, it's, oh, money, Versace, Gucci, money. It's literally a part of every single fucking conversation, everything that we do. And I'm not saying this to say that money has to stop existing or some way or another, because I think that there will be a form of exchange, like for the conceivable future at least. But it's like money now and debt and all these things is kind of just made to put us in a box and force us to point at other things, when really we should be looking inward. Because we're the only ones that can change this shit, dude. You watching this video and me. Yeah, I'm $1,000 in debt. But that doesn't stop us from thinking about how do we fucking not make sure like we're not in debt tomorrow. Yeah, get a job, whatever, all that nice stuff. But actually, yeah, like, I don't know. I have such high hopes for this generation. I feel like I can, whether you're fucking in support of Donald Trump or Joe Biden or fucking Xi Jinping, I'm pretty sure we can relate on the basis of money, in whatever way that it is. And I think we have to start looking at it through a lens of money, and maybe not through the lens of Democrat, Republican, communist, capitalist, woman, man, because we're all in this together, guys. And all of us have our own role that we play in our society, like in society. Like, we're all meant to do something, and I think we innately know that. But because the money hand is hanging over you as you go throughout life, it's just kind of pushed to the back of your mind, and you're just kind of forced to just pay off your debt, buy a house, do all these fucking things. And it's like, why have we assigned our worth to stuff? Actually, like, I like stuff just as much as the next person. Like, I'm holding a vape, I'm doing all this shit. Like, I like clothes, I like all this stuff, but I don't like it because like money and people can see it. Like, I like it because I like it, And I think we all have the capability to change this in some way, shape, or form. Because what I'm speaking about right now is looking at it from a very like bird's eye view, like the economic, social, and political aspects of all this stuff from a very broad approach. But this brings me to my next point, and that's the concept of third paradise. So there's this one French artist that I learned about in one of my courses this year, named Pistoletto. And he came up with the concept of the third paradise, which is the idea that over the course of human history, we've kind of operated in two facets. The first one is the natural world. That's when we were hunter-gatherers, shooting animals, all these things, mining resources, all this shit. And that could only sustain us for so long. And then we formed like the technological world. iPhones, money, houses, refrigerators, all these things. And then the concept of the third paradise is that if we don't start looking to integrate both forms to function seamlessly, we're gonna be fucked. Like, one way or another, bro. Like, we're gonna be fucked. Like, climate change is the one thing that whenever I'm talking about this, one of my friends will remind me of. Oh, you're forgetting about climate change. And I'm like, fuck, that's right, dude. Like, in 50 years, in 60 years, People aren't going to be able to live on the equator. What? Why is that? Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say or ask is that anyone who watches this video, I ask that you make a video of your own in a similar vein, just talking about the issues you see and the things that we can change in whatever capacity that is for you, you know? Whether you're a scientist, whether you're a theologian, whether you make fucking porn, whatever it is, bro. I think we all see ways to make the world better in our own ways, but we just don't want to talk about it, or we kind of not encouraged to talk about it because, like, it's not encouraged, you know? Like, us being here, like, as 20-year-olds, they're like, what the fuck do you know? You're just a banana who's on YouTube looking at shit all day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably a banana who's on YouTube all day, but there are things that we're just not choosing to look at. And if we don't look at them, we're going to be fucked. And I would really like for you guys to tell me what you think we might be fucked on in the future. And I'd really like for you guys to tell us or tell me how you think we can change it. Thank you for tuning in, and pure yap.